Good afternoon to everyone. I'm going to start the class. Before this starting, I just wanted to have a clarification whether this slide is visible to or not. Thank you. So in the morning session, we were discussing about various types of variables, and we have seen what exactly is a variable. And we came to know that variable is nothing but a name given to a memory location, and with the help of data type, we will specify what is the type of value that is going to be stored in the variable. We have discussed that there are three types of variables. One is local, second is instance, third one is static. Local variables are those variables which are declared within a method. Instance variables or class variables are those which are declared within the class. So if a variable is declared within the class, that means outside of the method. Suppose there are 10 methods in the class, the instance variable will be available for all the 10 methods. That means available its value will be valid within all the 10 methods. Whereas if a variable is declared as a static, it will be available for all the classes for which it has been declared. Okay, so let's have a look on to the local variables definition. As I said, any variable which is declared by a method or a constructor. Constructors are very similar to methods, but they don't have any written type. Their purpose, whole and sole purpose, is meant for only initialization of your variables, right? Constructors. So any variable which is declared within the methods or constructors, or in case of any blocks, like for example in a method, if block, if else block, or for loop, certain blocks are there. If a variable is declared within that block or within a method or within a constructor, then that particular variable is called as a local variable. And it's life in the sense till where can we use that variable. Suppose if we have initialized it, if we have declared and initialized, the variable will get its life starting at that point. Now we are using that variable's value one after the other, let us imagine, and we have closed that particular block. Once the block is closed, the variable will not be valid again to be used. That means that memory's location name will be taken once the block of code is completed, execution is completed. So the life of the variable, local variables are created when the method or constructor or the block in which they have been created is entered. Entered by whom? By the compiler. And the variable will be destroyed once the compiler exits the method or the constructor or the block. Okay, so once it is destroyed, its value is nowhere valid again. Okay, so now since it is declared within a method, within a constructor, or within a block, and it's accessed within that particular specific region only, do we actually need any further security access modifiers to be specified along with it? No, it's meant only for the local purpose. So there is no further requirement for any security issues there. So that's why there are no access modifiers needed to be specified beside the local variable declarations. Okay. Till where that visibility of that variable will be there, till where its value will be visible. Local variables are visible only in the block or the method or the constructor in which they have been created. They will not be visible outside of the method or outside of the constructor or outside of the block in which they have been created. Okay, this is also an important point. One more thing, internally how they are implemented within the block is they will be for every block of code or for every method or for every constructor, there will be the compiler will create a stack of memory locations. So once the variable's life is over, that variable will be taken out from that particular stack. Okay. So what will be the default value present inside a particular variable? The default value is, as we have discussed earlier, there will not be any default value. That doesn't mean the variable will contain garbage value. Whatever default zero we have seen in the previous slides in the morning session, those default values will be there, but there will not be any specifically mentioned default value, okay, for local variables. So local variables should be declared and an initial value should be assigned before the first use. This is also an important point for your competitive examinations. Okay, local variables should be declared initialized with a specific initial value before being used for the first time. So keep it in mind that without initializing them, you cannot leave them as it is. They should and must be initialized before they are being used for the first time. So one example program I have kept on the right hand side of here I have just created a class called as local variable. This is local variable is my own given name to that particular class. Do remember the class name should start with a capital letter. That's why L is in capitals over there. And V is in capitals because local and variable, these two are two separate words, should be spelled in different ways, should be spelled separately. Just to make a distinction between the two words which are attached together, I have initialized the second word's initial letter, first letter. So class is going to start with a curly brace, and here I have got one method called as pup age, the puppy's age over there, and I have just taken one variable called as age and I have initialized it to 0. Now I am incrementing the age value by 7 and I am trying to print some message that the age is so and so, and it is going to take the message which is kept in double quotations as it is and display it on the browse on the black and white command prompt, plus the age. I have written age over here, which is being pointed now by the red pointer. This age has not been put it in double quotes. It's because I want to display here the value present in the variable over there, age. Okay. So if you want to put a value present inside the variable, you will not include that variable in double quotes. Whereas if you want to just display simple word age over there, then you will keep that age in double quotes. Okay. So I'm closing off my method and I'm starting my void main, because without void main the program execution will not happen. So inside void main we'll make a object of the local variable class which we have created here. Local variable obj equal to new local variable. This was the same syntax which you followed in the C++. Same as it is here also it is being followed. There is no further change. Just for a quick recap, here is the class name whose object you wanted to create. Obj is the object name and it is our own given name. You can keep any name to it, O1, O2, O3, something like that, or obj, more useful name. Equal to new is the operator which is used for creating new objects. Local variable with parenthesis is the constructor which helps us in creation of our objects. Okay. So once the object is created, I'm going to make a call to the method has been defined by us by using object.pupAge method name. Once I make a call to that particular method, compiler will go and try to execute it. It will create a variable called as age with the initial value of 0. Then it will add 0 plus 7 and it will put back or reinitialize the age as 7 here. And finally, it is system.out.println and it is going to put puppy age is 7. Okay. So is there that's the end of the void main and that's the end of the class. So what are the main things that as a takeaway from this particular program is, do observe that I'm declaring age inside the method. So the age is my local variable. Age over here is my local variable. That's why I had to initialize it to some value Otherwise, if I don't initialize it, by default also it was having a zero value with it. But the local variable criteria or the specification requirement is that it should and must be initialized before the first usage. Okay, that's why we are keeping again a zero to the age. And do remember, there is no access specifier specified here, public, protected, or private, because this variable age will be valid from this curly brace, opening curly brace of the method till the closing curly brace of the method. That means here in main method, if I write age is equal to 10, again, it will be invalid. It will give an error to me. Okay. So hope this particular program is clear for everyone. I'm moving ahead for instance variable. Let us try to see what is the difference, how those instance variables are created and what is the programming for it. Instance variables are declared in a class but outside a method, constructor, or a block. That means within a class, just to remind you back of C++, class contains two sets of data. One is member data elements, another is member functions elements. Member data elements and member function elements. In case of C++, we had that particular categorization. Here also the same categorization comes. Here we have class member variables and we have got class member methods. In case of member variables, if a member variable is declared outside of the list of methods, then that variable will become an instance variable for us. Okay, these instance variables will be valid to be used among all the member methods which are present for that particular class. So, what is the life till where that particular variable, when it will be created and when it will be destroyed, is instance variables are created when an object is created. Okay. It is not that when the compiler executes that particular block of code. It's not like that. Whenever an object of that particular class is created, the instance variables will get created with the use of the keyword new. Okay. To create an object, we definitely need the variable new over there, keyword new over there, which is an operator for us. And the instance variables will be destroyed whenever the object is no longer being used by the program. Whenever certain objects are not being used by the program, there is a background running process in Java called as garbage collector, and that garbage collector will see whether an object is being further used in future or not. If it is not being used in further future, it is not expected to be used, then the garbage collector will take away the object and it will deallocate all the memory that was allocated for the object, thereby destroying the instance variables. Okay, in simple terms, when will be the when will be the instance variable created? When an object is created. When will be the instance variable be destroyed? When the object is destroyed. Simple. What is this span or validity of that particular variable? So, can we specify access modifiers to them or not? Since they are being used among multiple methods, there is some requirement of some controlling mechanism or some security mechanism. That's why access modifiers can be given to instance variables also. For some of them, they will be made as, if they are made as private, that means they will be used within those methods which have been declared as private. If they are made as public, then they will be available for all the methods which are there in that particular class. Okay, all the member methods. So what is this span? The instance variables are visible for all the methods, constructors, and blocks within the class. Do remember, within the class. Within the class, that particular instance variable has been created. What are the default values? They have the same default values as that were discussed in the time of data type declarations. Now for the numbers, it's 0, for the boolean it's false, and so forth. For the object it is null. Small thing. In order to access the local variables, we were dependent on using the object name. if you recollect back the previous program, we had, in order to access age, we were not able to access directly, right? That's why we used a particular function name over here. But suppose here, if I want to write that particular again, one more age, then I have to use the object name. But in case of instance variables, can be accessed directly by calling the variable inside the class. Okay, they need not be mentioned along with the object. They can be directly accessed without even mentioning an object, but do remember that they can be accessed only within the class in which they were declared or created. They cannot be accessed outside of the class in which they were created. Okay, so one small program I have kept over here. I have introduced here one new package called as IO package. This is meant for taking input output or performing input output operations. IO is the package for input output operation methods. Okay, so I'm creating a class called as employee, and in that particular class, I'm declaring a variable called as name. But do remember, this name has been declared before any method was started for definition. Before any method definitions, we have gone for declaration of this variable called as name. And we have declared it as a category of string type, and I have said that it is of public nature. That means all the methods can access them. I have declared one more variable here called as salary, and that particular variable has been declared of double type and is of private nature. Then now to assign the values or to give any value to that particular name or to salary, we'll make use of constructor. Now, what is the main purpose of constructor is, constructor is helpful for allocation of memory for the object. That's the primary motive. While allocating the memory, constructor also initializes what are the default member variables available in the class. So here we have got two member variables. One is name, second is salary. So what is the initial value for that particular thing? We are going to initialize it out. So name we have initialized, salary we have not initialized. So salary can also be initialized with the same manner. But here I have used a separate method called as set salary, just to show you that not just a constructor is responsible for initializing of values, we can initialize using a method also. Read our own defined method. I have used this technique. Okay. So I'm using set salary to initialize the value of the salary variable. Now, once the salary is initialized, I'm trying to make a definition for print employee method. This employee method will display whatever values that have been initialized to the variables. So I'm telling that system.out.println name is so and so name. Whatever value is there within the name variable, it will be displayed over there. Salary is so and so salary. Whatever salary variable is containing, that will get displayed over there. That was the print employee method. Now to make a call to that particular method, I have to make use of main method now, right? So first we will create an object of the employee class, which we are creating here. And at the time of creation of the object itself, I am passing the parameter here, which will, if you recollect back, I said that after the new operator, whatever is written with the parenthesis is the actually constructor. So I'm making a call to this particular constructor by passing Ransica, and this Ransica will be put it into EMP name. And this EMP name in the body of this constructor is being reinitialized back to the name variable, which is actually our instance variable that we have declared here. Fine. So I'm trying to set the salary as 1000. Now I'm making a call to that particular print EMP method, and it will go and execute that print EMP body. So here we are trying to put the name and salary back on the screen. So we are finished with the void main, and this is the closing of our program. So the simple takeaway from this program is how to declare an instance variable. It's very simple. If you want a variable to be accessible within all the methods within all the methods of the class, then you have to declare it outside of the methods called as instance variables. And once you have declared them as instance variables, those values will be valid with all the methods which have been declared in the class. Now for the instance variable, we have taken two variables here. One is the name, second is the salary. For the name, I'm making to initialize them, we have got two options. One is by using the constructor, second is by using our own user defined methods. I have shown both the ways of initializing them. In the first case, I have used a constructor to initialize one variable, that is name. In the second way, I have used a set salary method and initialize them back using set salary method. There are various other methods also, which I'm not going, various ways in which we can do that work, but I'm not going for that highness of our Java programming. I'm keeping it as simple as possible. So I hope this particular program is clear for you people. So this was the second category of variables. First one was local variables, second is instance variables. Third one, static or class variables. I'm sorry I said for instance variables as class variables, but static variables are called as class variables. Okay, so let's try to see what are the class variables. Class variables are nothing but any variable, any instance variable which has been declared instance or local variable which has been declared with a keyword static. Okay, I use a static keyword for that particular variable, then that particular variable will be treated as a static variable or class variable. But do remember, this should be declared outside of the method or the constructor or block. If you are declaring a variable within the method or constructor or block as a static, then that method or the block or the constructor should also become a static. Constructors are not static in nature, so we prefer to make those variables which are to be made as static to be as instance variables. In simple terms, static variables are those instance variables which are declared with a static keyword. Simple. Telling static variables are those instance variables which are declared with a keyword static before them. Okay. Now, so what is the main benefit of this particular static variable? The benefit is that irrespective of the number of objects that are created, only one variable copy or only one memory location will be created for that particular variable. What will happen usually is, for each and every object, there will be one specific memory location for each and every variable. That means for each and every object will have its own exclusive list of variables which have been declared within the class and a list of methods. Okay. Suppose object 1 is there, it will have, suppose the class has declared 3 variables and 2 methods, object 1 will have 3 variables and 2 methods. Object 2 will have 3 variables and 2 methods. Object 3 will have 3 variables and 2 methods. Like that, if there are n objects, n number of variables will be created and each one will have its own exclusive values. Suppose in object 1 variable x is 10, in object 2 variable x maybe 10 or maybe 20 or maybe 30 or maybe 40, some value. Both will be separate. But if I want a variable which should be having same value for all the objects, suppose I want one variable whose value should be same for all the objects, then that particular variable should be made as static. Its main importance will be can be learned. For example, you may be playing various games, right? Sometimes you will have certain racing car games going on and you will have your own name, your personality name, and you will have each and every car's categorization names. So for each car, your name will not differ. Your name will be remaining as it is. But for each car, it will have its own name. Okay? But this your name, personality name, is being shared among all the car objects. isn't it? So by that we can understand that your personality name in that particular game's programming was made as a static one, but for each car name was made as an instance variable name or something like that. Okay, fine. So static variables are rarely used. But do remember, if the variable is declared as static, it is being shared among all the n objects. If one of the object changes the variable value, for all the remaining n minus 1 objects, that changed value will be notified, will be affected, right? For all of them, the value will get affected. Suppose by mistakenly one object has changed the value. By mistakenly. Should it impact onto all n minus 1 objects? No, right? That's why we always prefer to have constants which can never change to be declared as static. Okay? We always prefer static variables to be of type constant. For example, your personality name, it should not change actually. So it was a constant name, right? So if in case suppose the program was written such that if you sit in one of the cars, then your name itself was changing. Will you consider it as a good gaming application? No, right? So that's why we prefer static variables to be of constant types. So when will the variable be created? When will it be destroyed? That variable will get created when the program starts. It's not when an object is created. Okay. The variable value will get created when the program has got started. That means once you compile your Java program, the variable got created. Okay, but in case of your instance variables, once an object of that particular class has been created, at that moment only that particular variable will get created. When will the static variable be destroyed? When the program stops its execution. Okay. So span is very similar to instance variables. There is no much difference in that one. Mostly public, because you need your variable to be visible to all other methods, all the objects also. So you need not apply any access specifiers other than public. Public should be used. What are the default values are the same as that of your instance variables. Okay. Now, one key important point. The key important point over here is static variables can be accessed by calling with the class name. Static variables doesn't need an object specifically to be created in order to call it, in order to use it. Static variables can be accessed without even making an object, without even creating an object. Just we need to mention the class name and then the variable name. Okay. So one of the programs that I have kept as an example is over here. Let's try to see this in particular program. For static, I did not kept any program. I don't think it's needed because the same program will be good enough. Just what you need to do is you have to write after public one keyword over here called as static. After public, you need to write one keyword over here, static, before string. Okay, same way, after private, before the double, you have to write a keyword called as static. Do note these things, okay? So let's move for constants. How do we declare constants is by using a keyword called as final. Okay, constant variables are just meant for making them as read-only variables. Their value cannot be changed once it has been initialized. So how do we make a constant variable? This max underscore length is the variable name. Max underscore length is the variable name. Its data type is integer and it has been declared as final. That means this max length, whatever it has been initialized, will be final and it will never change again. Okay, even if some of the program code wants to change it, the program will give you an error over there. Okay, so where they will be used? They will be used for those type of occurrences of variables which are expected to have a constant value throughout the program. For example, a pi value, whose value is 3.14, right? So we will declare that pi as 3.14. Even if a programmer wish to change it, it should give an error to back to the programmer, right? So for that reason, I have kept one program over here, circle program, calculating the circle area. So circle radius have been taken as the initial value as 5.5, and then one variable area is being declared, and the area is being calculated as pi into radius, and then the area is being printed along with its radius. Now one small question over here. I'm waiting for the chat box. The answers should be there in the chat box. What type of variables are area and radius? What type of variables are area and radius? I'm waiting for the answers in the chat box. Out of the three categories that we have learned, what type of values they are, which category they belong to? I'm again repeating, what is the category of area and radius? Are they local variables? Are they static variables? Or are they instance variables? Pujita, you are wrong. Naveen, wrong. Simple thing. Where is the variable being declared? Within a method or outside of the method? Exactly. Kirtana, local variable. Where is this variable being declared? It is declared within a method main, right? So any variable which is declared within a method or a constructor or a particular block is called as a local variable, right? Within Naveen, right one. Very good. So what is the type of the variable pi? Is it local variable, is it instance variable, or is it static variable? No answers? Yeah, you are correct. That pi is also a local variable. It is not instance variable. Okay, it's not a static variable. How do we identify whether it is instance variable or a static variable? Is there any static keyword before that particular variable declaration? No. That means definitely it is not static. Now, is it an instance variable? For that reason, we have to first check where is that variable defined within the method. So once it is defined within the method, it cannot be instance variable. Then, so I hope it will be very clear for everyone how to identify which type of variable it is. Okay, I kept this static variable program just after that one. So you people just try to check this program also. Okay. So now, what are the modifiers that are available in Java? Basically, we have learned three types of modifiers, right? Public, private, and protected. You have that particular concept in your mind. In Java, we have got a number of access modifiers with regard to the classes, variables, methods, and constructors. For all the classes, variables, methods, and constructors, we can use access modifiers. Again, I'm telling where can we mention the access specifiers? We can mention it before the class names. We can mention it before the variable names. We can mention it before the method names. We can mention it before the constructor names. Okay. So in Java, apart from the three which we have learned earlier, we have got one new type of access control specifier, access control modifier called as default. If you recollect back in C++, where we had this access modifiers mentioned, by default, if I don't mention any access specifier before a class, by default, that class will become private, public, or protected. Can anyone tell me that particular thing? Again, I am repeating the question and I am waiting in the chat box to get the answers. In C++, if I don't mention the access specifier modifier and just write the class name, what is the type of the class? Is it public, private, or protected? Yeah, correct, private, right? It will be private. But in case of Java, if I don't specify before the class name any access modifier, it will be treated as a default category of modifier. It will be treated as a default category of modifier. What is this default category of modifier and how it differs from private? We will try to see within a short while. Okay, within 2 to 3 minutes our class will be winding. This session will be winding. The next session is followed very quickly. You have to quickly log in again, back again. Okay, 2:50 I have another class, so please log in at that class also. Now, one is default, and this default doesn't has any name. It doesn't has any keyword. So all you need to do is you need to leave it blank. Okay, you need not mention even the default keyword over there. Second category is private. If you make any variable or a particular class as private or a method as private, it is valid only within that particular class in which you have declared it. It is not valid outside of the class. So private variables are the highest secured variables or highest secured methods or highest secured classes. Okay. Next is public. If you don't want any security, the variable and the method or the class can be accessed from anywhere from the program, then that particular category is called as public. That means there is no locking mechanism. There is no security mechanism. Second one is, if you want only within that particular subclasses, a particular variable or a method to be accessed, then you will declare it as protected. This was the concept in C++. Same concept comes in Java also. Apart from that, in case of protected, even the classes or the interfaces which are present within the package can also access that particular variable. Protected. So do remember, protected variables or the methods or the classes are visible to the package in which they have been created or to which they belong, and to all the subclasses to which they belong. Public is visible to the world. World over here means to all the packages, to all the programs over here. Okay. Visible only within the class. Which one? Private. For default, it is visible to all the package. That means in whichever package our class has been defined, to all the other classes or interfaces in which that particular class was defined, our variable or method will be visible and can be accessed. Now, non-access modifiers are also there, few of them, such as static and final. This static and final will change the meaning of that particular accessing. For example, static variables need not use any object, doesn't depend on the object to be made to be accessed. Final will be making that particular variable value as a constant. Similarly, if a method is made as final, it cannot be overloaded. Similarly, if a class is made as a final, if a class is declared with a final keyword, that means there cannot be any subclass generated from the final class. So if you want your class not to be inherited by any other class, then you will declare it as a final class. Okay. There is one more called as abstract, which is very similar to that of abstract which you learned in C++. If you want some of the methods of your class to be defined and some of the methods should be defined by the subclasses which are inheriting our class, then you will declare that class as an abstract class. Okay. So synchronized and volatile are also with regard to our threads concept, which we will be learning in the 5th unit, I hope so, most probably. Okay. So till here we have finished what are the modifiers, types of modifiers. Just 1 or 2 minutes are left out. I'm just waiting in the chat box. If you have any doubt, please raise it out. Be fast in that case. Do remember you have to log in back again very quickly. Once the session is over, the next session is followed with good afternoon.
ఇప్పుడు ఇది దీనికి దీని మనం వర్చువల్ క్లాస్